Okay, so if you listen to me in the beginning of this video, like it's clear that when I started, I intended to make like a 10 or 15 minute video, but I'm coming off of being in a mixed state and still feeling pretty manic. So once I started telling my story, I told all of it. Like it just ended up being nearly an hour long. So I'm gonna chop it up into like bits and like release it in like I don't know like 10-minute like parts over a period of time, so that I don't overwhelm people with just this huge fat like 50-minute video. Um, but yeah, this is my story, as honest and raw as I can be about my experience with bipolar disorder. And I'm being this honest and raw because I want someone out there who can relate to be able to see themselves in me so they don't feel so alone. So it's a little embarrassing, you know, giving out all these details, even though it's not really a lot of the nitty gritty details. But I think it's an interesting story, especially if you're interested in content about mental health. So I hope that you enjoy. Hi, my name is Kyle. I am a 32-year-old male living in the city, a densely populated city. Um, so, this is my channel, and a long time ago, when I was having some struggles with my bipolar disorder, there were a lot of vlogs on here on YouTube that helped me. A lot of those people no longer post videos, and I noticed that they don't really seem to do that much anymore. But, like, if hearing about my story helps someone the way that hearing other people's stories helped me, I'm all for that. Also, I think I need some kind of, like, outlet for myself, and I don't really do well with keeping up with the journal and things like that. So, talking helps me, and if you guys enjoy it, then that's fantastic. So, um, what can I offer YouTube? I am trying to think of. Um, I love professional wrestling, so maybe I'll do like some reviews on this channel. I'm pretty into politics. Maybe I'll post some videos about that. But the main thing that I want to do is talk about bipolar disorder and mental health, and particularly share my experiences about how my bout with bipolar disorder. I guess that's a negative way to look at it. My journey to learn to accept my bipolar life. I'd like to share details about that and where I'm at, where I've been, and yeah. So I'm gonna try and keep it brief because my phone only has like 10 or 15 minutes worth of storage, and my web camera sucks. so so I'm doing it this way. So I'm just gonna give a brief overview of my life as an introductory sort of thing to my channel. Um, so my life with bipolar disorder. So, I guess some background about me. I come from my extended family. Was a part of the Great Migration from the south to the north. Um, my grandmother um, did not have a full high school education, and my mother did not have any college education. Um, so I'm coming from that. Lived a fairly impoverished life for most of my life. Right now, probably the past few years are the most financially stable I've ever been. A lot of my family members have been touched by mental illness and by after effects of the crack epidemic in the black community. So that's where I'm starting at. Alright, so as long as I can remember, I had something a little off about me. The first sign that something was wrong is that when I was in kindergarten, I think I went a year early, which might explain what I'm about to say. But they seem to think that I like wasn't developing. I think socially the way that they expected from a kindergarten kid from start to finish. So I had to see a psychiatrist. I forget really what was being said enough to really analyze that now. Um, I had to repeat kindergarten, so whatever it was pretty serious. Not a measure of my intelligence because I've always been smart, but this was more of a behavioral thing. And I guess they found that the second time around, I was adjusting to the kids a little better, and I guess developing well enough that I never heard about it again, even though I stayed at that school for a number of years. And besides that, I can say that I've always sort of felt things more deeply. I don't want to say that I felt them more deeply than I was supposed to, because who can be the judge of that? But I felt things more than I noticed other people did. When I would have a family get together and everyone spent hours of time together, and it was time for everybody to leave at the end of the night, like 10 o'clock at night, and even though I was exhausted, I remember being like unreasonably upset that these people were leaving to go home. I would cry and like throw tantrums and all sorts of things. It was crazy. There were like other strange signs um, in my young life. Like I was unnecessarily like destructive. Um, I would draw on walls when I was like a kid, like little, which is like not that abnormal. But then, as I became an older kid, I I destroyed my own door to my room. My mother was so upset she never replaced the door. She gave me like a screen, and I just had to suck it up and deal with it because I had torn the door off the hinges. I put holes in the wall and all sorts of things. Um, I was a bizarre kid. I remember my mother telling me about periods, like years, in which I was kind of quiet, and then other years when I was a very hyper kid. Peculiar things, but always extremely bright, unnaturally perceptive. And like I said, I felt emotions very deeply. And I also had a lot of social problems, like just like I said with the kindergarten thing, even as I got older, I just never really clicked with people socially. I was always made fun of and teased. Internalized that and became like a very angry young man, actually, by the time I was in middle school.